All right. Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dig in.
Okay, perfect. So today we're looking at this news coming out of Nigeria
Hmm.
about MTN. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, I saw that. It's pretty big.
Yeah, the nation's, well, they've been the largest telecom operator there,
Right.
and they're saying they might pull out
Entirely. Wow.
completely. And it's like, how could a company that's been so successful for so long
Yeah.
suddenly consider leaving like that?
Right. You think they'd be pretty entrenched after all this time?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've got some statements from the CEO, Coriola Carl,
Mm-hmm.
and hopefully these will shed a little light.
Yeah, let's see what he has to say.
So it doesn't seem like it was like a sudden decision or anything.
Okay.
He's actually revealed that MTN has been pulling from their reserves
Oh, wow.
for the past 2 decades just to stay afloat in Nigeria.
2 decades. That's a long time to be relying on reserves like that.
Yeah. It's a really long time, and I mean, that's a big red flag to me.
Definitely, yeah. That signals something more systemic.
Yeah, exactly. Not just a little bump in the road.
Exactly, yeah. A deeper issue with the business climate there, perhaps.
Well, and it's interesting because they've been one of the top corporate taxpayers in Nigeria
Really?
since they started operating back in 2001.
Wow.
So it's like, if they were doing well for so long, what's changed?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I think we got to look closer at those financial pressures the article mentions.
Yeah, let's get into the details.
It highlights three key factors:
Okay.
escalating diesel prices,
Mm.
foreign exchange losses
Mm.
from the devalued Nigeria.
Ugh, yeah. Currency stuff is always tricky.
Yeah, it's a headache.
It really is.
And get this, debts owed to MTN by the Central Bank of Nigeria
Oh, wow.
and the Nigerian Communications Commission.
What? They're owed money.
Yeah, you'd think they'd be getting paid,
Mm.
not the other way around.
Okay, so let's break all of that down because I'm not a finance whiz.
No, and it's not exactly everyday conversation for most people.
Exactly. So let's start with that diesel thing.
Sure.
Okay, so diesel prices have been going up everywhere.
Globally, yeah, it's a problem.
But how does that directly impact a telecom company? Like, what's the connection?
Well, you see, telecom companies rely on diesel a lot more than you might think,
Oh, really?
especially in places where, the power grids aren't that reliable.
Ah, that makes sense.
And in Nigeria, they have frequent power outages. It's just a reality there.
Right.
So
Okay.
businesses have to depend on these diesel generators
Ah, to keep everything
to
running.
keep the lights on, literally.
So it's an added cost just for basic operations.
Exactly. And when those diesel prices go up, it eats right into their profits.
It's like a hidden expense almost.
Yeah, it's not always obvious, but it can be a huge burden.
Wow. Okay, so that's just one hit they're taking.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not all.
The article also mentioned those foreign exchange losses.
Right. That's the whole currency devaluation thing.
Can you explain that? Like, I'm 5 years old.
Right. So imagine every country has its own special type of money, right?
Got it.
And the value of that money goes up and down compared to other countries' money.
Like a seesaw, almost.
Yeah, exactly. So when the Nigerian naira is devalued,
Mm-hmm.
it basically means it's worth less
Mm.
compared to, say, the US dollar.
So they're losing money just by exchanging currencies.
Basically, yeah, they might earn a certain amount,
Right.
but when they have to convert it back to naira, it's worth less.
It's like they're getting penalized for doing business internationally.
In a way, yeah, it's definitely a disadvantage.
Okay, and then there's that whole thing about the debts owed to them.
Right, that USSD thing.
Yeah, USSD, what even is that?
So USSD stands for Unstructured Supplementary Service Data.
Oh, okay.
And basically, it lets people use banking services on their phones.
Oh, that's pretty important.
Yeah, especially without internet access, which can be an issue in some areas.
Yeah, so MTN's providing that service, working with banks, and they're not getting paid.
That's the crazy part. Both the Central Bank of Nigeria
Wow.
and the Nigerian Communications Commission, they owe MTN a lot of money.
So not only are they dealing with high costs, they're not even getting revenue for a key service.
It's a tough spot to be in, for sure.
I mean, no wonder they're thinking of leaving.
And this might be bigger than just MTN.
What do you mean?
It kind of shows the challenges of doing business in that kind of environment.
Yeah, with those systemic issues you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. It makes you wonder how other companies are coping.
That's a really good point.
What does it mean for the Nigerian economy as a whole?
Right, because this could have ripple effects.
Absolutely.
So the CEO, he did mention that they might have to raise prices, the tariffs.
Yeah, trying to offset those losses.
But he also hinted that if they can't do that, they might just shut down.
Completely.
Yeah.
Exactly. What would the consequences of something like that even be?
It's hard to even imagine. I mean, think about all the people MTN employs.
It would be massive job losses.
And not just directly, but all the related industries too.
Right, all the people who depend on MTN in some way.
Yeah, it would affect the whole ecosystem.
And what about all the Nigerians who rely on MTN for communication?
Oh my gosh, yeah, millions of people.
It'd be a major disruption to everything.
Businesses, personal communication, everything.
Yeah, and potentially even Nigeria's digital economy as a whole.
Wow, that's a really good point. I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah, it could even impact investment and technological advancement down the line.
So they're really in a tough spot, needing to stay afloat, but with limited options.
And those options could hurt consumers, too.
Yeah, it's like a lose-lose situation.
It really highlights the need for stable conditions and reliable infrastructure.
For everyone, yeah.
Yeah, and the loss of a major company like MTN, or even just a price hike.
Right.
It affects everyone, not just the company itself.
So this brings up a really important question. What can the Nigerian government even do?
It's tricky, right?
Yeah.
They need to support companies like MTN,
Mm-hmm.
but also protect consumers.
Yeah, it's about finding that balance.
It's a tough challenge.
There's got to be some kind of solution out there.
Well, I think it starts with understanding the root causes.
Yeah.
Like what's really contributing to MTN's difficulties.
Identify those systemic issues.
Exactly. Then you can explore more effective solutions.
It's interesting that you say that because...
It's interesting you say that because this whole situation with MTN, it reminds me of this broader trend, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you see it in a lot of emerging markets. Companies, they're facing these hurdles, like with currencies.
Yeah, we talked about that, the volatility.
Exactly. And then political instability sometimes.
Right, that can make things unpredictable.
And of course, limitations with infrastructure.
Like those power grids we were talking about.
Exactly. It's like a whole combination of factors.
So MTN's not alone in this, it sounds like.
Not at all. It's something a lot of companies have to deal with.
But are there, strategies they can use?
To deal with those risks?
Yeah, to, mitigate them or something?
There are, definitely. But it's usually not a simple fix.
Right.
It's kind of got to be a multifaceted approach.
Okay, so, multiple things at once.
Exactly. So one thing you see companies doing is diversifying.
Diversifying. Okay, so not putting all their eggs in one basket.
You got it? Spread out the investments.
Yeah.
Different countries, different currencies.
So if one market tanks, they're not completely screwed.
Yeah, it helps buffer them against those sudden shocks,
That's smart.
Yeah, and then this one gets a bit more complicated, but hedging.
Hedging, with a hedge trimmer?
Not quite, but it's about managing their currency exposure.
Ah, okay.
Using financial instruments to kind of lock in those exchange rates.
Sounds like something you need a finance degree for.
Yeah, it can get pretty technical.
But the point is, they're not just sitting there taking the hit.
Exactly. They have tools to try and manage this stuff.
What about the governments, though? Can they do anything?
Oh, absolutely. They have a huge ECHI role to play.
Really?
Fostering that stability, attracting those foreign investments.
That sense, create a good environment for business.
Exactly. So things like sound fiscal policies,
Okay.
promoting transparency, upholding the rule of law.
So it's about creating that predictability you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and of course, investing in infrastructure.
Especially reliable power.
A huge factor. That can make a world of difference for businesses.
So it's really a partnership, almost.
It is. Governments set the stage. Businesses can thrive.
And then everyone benefits.
Exactly. More investment, more jobs, economic growth. It all ties together.
It's like a big interconnected web.
It really is. And once you see those connections,
Mm-hmm.
you get a much deeper understanding of how the global economy works.
Yeah, it's not just about abstract concepts.
No, it's real-world impact on real people.
And speaking of real impact, MTN leaving would be a big deal for Nigeria.
Oh, absolutely. They're a major employer.
Right, and a key player in their telecoms.
Huge void if they left. Tough to fill that quickly.
And wouldn't that send a bad message to other investors?
Yeah, unfortunately, if MTN struggles,
Others might get spooked.
exactly, they'll see it as a risk.
So the stakes are high for everyone involved.
Really high, yeah. Which is why finding those solutions is so crucial.
Solutions that benefit everyone, not just one side.
Exactly. Got to create that win-win,
Yeah, where businesses can operate sustainably and the country grows.
Sustainable growth, that's the key, right?
And that probably requires some open communication, right?
Absolutely. Both MTN and the government need to talk, find some common ground.
Work together, yeah.
And it can't just be them.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Got to involve civil society, too.
Ah,
Make
okay.
sure everyday citizens have a voice, their concerns are heard.
So it's a more holistic approach.
Exactly. It's not about finding a solution for a select few.
It's about solutions that benefit everyone.
You got to be inclusive, positive impact for all involved.
Move away from that us versus them mentality.
Exactly. It's about collaboration, working together towards a common goal.
This has been really eye-opening,
It is, isn't it?
to see how connected everything is, the importance of cooperation.
It's a lot to take in, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also inspiring, don't you think?
In a way, yeah, seeing people trying to find solutions.
Innovative solutions, sustainable solutions.
Yeah, it's a good reminder that we all have a part to play,
Absolutely, in shaping a better future.
whether it's through what we buy, how we engage, the policies we support,
You said it perfectly. It's recognizing our interconnectedness,
and working towards that shared goal.
building a world where everyone can thrive.
Speaking of thriving, this has been great, but we've just scratched the surface.
Oh, for sure. There's so much more to explore.
I'm already thinking about the bigger picture, the long-term implications.
Of this whole situation with MTN.
Yeah, and beyond. Like, what about the future of telecoms?
In Nigeria and globally.
Yeah, and how all these forces we've been talking about, how they're shaping the world.
Oh, I'm glad you asked, because that's exactly what I want to dive into next.
Okay, perfect. So let's jump right in.
There's some fascinating angles to this story. I can't wait to share some final thoughts.
So, we've been talking about MTN in Nigeria, but it's got me thinking, about the whole African telecom
The
landscape.
bigger picture, yeah.
Yeah, like, could this send shockwaves through the whole industry if they leave?
I mean, it's definitely possible, right? When a company as big as MTN is facing these kinds of problems,
Yeah.
it can make other companies hesitant.
Especially those who haven't worked in these types of markets before.
Yeah, exactly. If they haven't had to deal with those specific challenges.
They'll see it as a risk, I guess.
For sure. Investors, they want to see a clear path to profit, right?
Right.
And if one company is struggling,
It's a red flag.
yeah, big red flag.
And Africa's telecom sector has been booming, hasn't
Oh,
it?
it has. Huge growth in recent years, yeah.
So could this, slow that progress down?
There's a chance, I guess, but it really depends on how everyone reacts.
Okay.
I mean, some companies might get scared off, especially if they're not used to emerging markets.
Right. They'll see the risks and back away.
But then there are others who specialize in these tougher environments,
Oh, interesting.
and they might actually see this as an opportunity.
So it could change who's investing in Africa?
Yeah, potentially the companies who are good at navigating those hurdles.
The regulatory stuff, the currency swings.
Exactly, and the infrastructure problems too.
They might step in where others are too afraid.
They might even see it as a chance to, gain market share.
So it could actually make the whole sector more resilient in the long run.
I think so, yeah, if it attracts those companies who can adapt.
And maybe even drive some innovation.
Oh, definitely. I mean, challenges often lead to innovation, right?
Like finding new ways to solve problems.
Exactly. You got to think outside the box.
That's exciting. So this could be a turning point, almost.
It could be, yeah. It all depends on how everyone plays their cards.
It's amazing we started with one article about MTN.
And now we're talking about the whole future of telecoms.
In Africa and beyond?
It just shows you how everything's connected, right?
Yeah, one event can have these huge ripple effects.
We can't just look at things in isolation anymore.
You gotta see that bigger picture.
It can feel overwhelming,
Sometimes, yeah.
but I think it's also, empowering.
How so?
The more we understand these systems, the better we can navigate them.
Make better choices.
Exactly. And contribute to solutions that actually work.
So wrapping up, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic, I guess.
Cautiously optimistic. I like that.
Challenges are going to happen, but they also bring opportunities.
For growth, for innovation.
And maybe, just maybe, this whole MTN thing will spark some positive change.
Yes, strengthen Nigeria's economy, maybe even the whole African telecom landscape.
That would be incredible.
It's a good reminder that we all have a part to play,
In shaping the future.
Even when things are uncertain, there's always hope, always progress.
Well said. That's a great note to end on.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everyone.
And until next time, keep exploring,
keep learning,
keep asking questions.
and keep those connections in mind.
Absolutely. See y'all next time.